just wanted to get on here today or tonight and have a discussion of resource guarding. How to recognize resource guarding. Sorry, I'm adjusting my camera. How to recognize resource guarding in your dog. Okay, give me 1 second. It looks like nobody's on here yet, not even my moderator, so I just need to let her know that I am on. Live chat. Okay, there we go. I'm just gonna pull up my live chat on my computer so that I have the ability to look at the chat on my computer instead of 1 second. Silence my phone. Sorry. Let me make some minor adjustments. Perfect. Maria, I just got your text. No, I did not fix the timing because I forgot and now I can't modify it. So hopefully it doesn't give us an issue tonight with the chat. We'll see. All right. So let me pull up my I need you to give me a reminder before I click to go live next time because my brain is all over the place. Let me pull up my videos on my computer so that I can see the live chat here. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Sorry for the delay. All right, so as I said, we are going to have a discussion about resource guarding tonight. And feel free, please feel free to type any questions in the live chat and we will try to work on answering those questions for you. Some things are going to require, like very specific direction, and it would be best for you to book a Zoom session with me so that we could have a one-on-one. But I just kind of wanted to do a general information on how to recognize resource guarding and how to potentially keep from having a major issue with it. Let me just adjust this here. How's my lighting? Is it dark? Does it look dark to you, Maria? Maria, can you answer? Does it look dark or is the lighting okay? Can you see me? It's hard to see on my phone screen and it looks like it might be okay over here. All right, perfect. Okay, so most of the time when people, all right, thank you. Most of the time when people think of resource guarding, they think of, a dog protecting a bone or their dog food bowl specifically. But it can get much deeper than that, and it can be a little tricky to recognize at times because if you're not familiar with the way that dog brains work and you've never had an instance where someone explained this to you, it's not something that we naturally know. There's nothing to be ashamed of when we don't know something that we were not taught. So there's no such thing as a stupid question unless you ask me, like, what is a dog? No, I'm just kidding. I still wouldn't make you feel stupid about that. And if you're here, you know what a dog is. All right, so with resource guarding, It could be that your dog is resource guarding their bone, their toy. They could resource guard their food bowl, which most people are familiar with. They could resource guard their specific spot that they like to lay. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical bed. So, whenever someone tells me that their dog attacked out of nowhere or bit out of nowhere in their house, I have a lot of questions because we need to dissect every single aspect of this dog's life to figure out exactly what caused the dog to react. So, dogs give multiple warnings, usually. In very rare cases, and sometimes it's due to like a medical issue. Sometimes things just aren't right in their head if they're, product of inbreeding. But even still, there's usually ways that they communicate with us and let us know that they are not comfortable and they are absolutely capable of furthering their warnings that we are not heeding. Okay, so resource guarding can be anything. Your dog can resource guard you, and it doesn't necessarily, unfortunately, a lot of people like to think that, oh, my dog loves me so much, he's protecting me. Sometimes that's not really the case. It could be that the dog has high level of anxiety. They know they need you to survive, and they are protecting you as a resource, just as they would protect their food bowl or their bone. And don't take that the wrong way. It doesn't mean that your dog doesn't love you. It just means that they know they need you to survive. So they can protect you as a resource. And so if we're out in public or someone comes over, and if you've ever seen a dog that, it's usually a smaller dog, so a dog that somebody can hold or have on their lap, okay? For instance, the little guy that I have. All right, so he has a tendency to resource guard. He's a Chihuahua-ish mix, maybe Rat Terrier. Who knows? He's got all kinds of things in him. I haven't gotten a DNA panel done on him, but I probably will. All right, so if he is on my daughter's lap and he's totally relaxed, he does have a tendency to try to resource guard her toward other people. Not necessarily me, because he knows me and he trusts me. But if someone has been here and they're sitting on the couch, on the other side of the couch from him being on her lap, and they've been fine sitting there, he's okay with them getting up and moving and walking by her puts him on guard. And don't reach like you're going to reach your hand toward her or him, because he will be on the defense. And it doesn't mean that he's protecting her. It means that he views her as a valuable resource. He likes to get attention from her. She feeds him. So he knows that he needs her for survival. He was a stray for about a year, I think, or we don't know what really happened the first year of his life. He was picked up on the street at about a year old, and he was taken to the county animal shelter, and that's where the owner got him from. She adopted him from the county animal shelter. So that's typically, the norm with resource guarding, is that like a dog went without food or without resources at a time in their life, and then they can be more likely to resource guard than a dog that we obtain as an 8-week-old puppy, and we've done everything right with them and they don't have that fear of not having food, shelter, water, or a human to interact with and take care of them. All right, so with resource guarding, his tendency to resource guard and any dog's tendency to resource guard, we have to be mindful of every single aspect that they might, every single situation that they might try to resource guard in, which for him, I don't allow him to, if Zelda, my other dog, is downstairs and they're in the same area, I don't allow either one of them to have a bone, a toy. They can play with each other and wrestle, and they're fine with that, but I limit the likelihood of a resource guarding instance, because he resource guarded a box against her, which it was like she didn't even want the box. She actually tripped on it and she panicked, and then he attacked the box. When she went over to see what he was doing, he growled at her and like charged at her, and then he growled at me over the box. So thankfully I have a very strong crate command for him, and it doesn't matter what he's doing. I can say crate, and he runs in his crate and understands that he has to stay there until I give him permission to get out, or until I come over and close it. He's got to stay seated in his crate. Okay, so when we're speaking of problem behaviors like resource guarding, reactivity, obedience commands absolutely come in handy. It's important to keep in mind that behavior modification is not dog training. It's not obedience. So obedience training is sit, stay, down, leave it, drop it, come. And all of those commands are very important when we're working on behavior modification, but behavior modification has more to do with how we implement those specific commands to modify the occurrence of what we deem a problem behavior. Okay? So if your dog is resource guarding, it doesn't mean that I don't consider it meaning that they're aggressive, or they're a bad dog. It's an anxiety-based behavior. So it's almost like, they're having a panic attack. They're freaking out because you're getting too close to something that they want. All right, so, or something they feel like they need to protect. So with resource guarding, I try to minimize the occurrence by avoiding certain situations and making sure that their interactions with certain situations are very, very structured. Okay, so I feed Gizmo in his crate. He doesn't resource guard his food against me or my daughter, and I just don't want to chance him resource guarding against my dog. It's not worth or my other dog. It's not worth taking that chance. So I feed him in his crate. When I'm getting his food, I tell him crate. He goes in his crate. He sits and waits until I scoop his food in his bowl, and then I go put his food in the bowl. He waits until I give him permission to start eating, and as I'm closing the crate door. So with having that structure, he knows what to expect. If your dog has a tendency to resource guard, we don't want to be unpredictable. We need to try not to be unpredictable anyway, because it can cause a lot of issues with anxiety and other behaviors. All right, so with resource guarding, we need structure. So we need to be able to give them specific obedience commands. We need to be able to tell them to sit, stay. We need to be able to tell them to leave it. I teach a walk away command so that they understand they need to get away from something. Wait is important. Let's see what else. Watch me, teaching them to make eye contact with you so that they're not necessarily fixating on whatever they want to guard. So if a dog, sorry, I wasn't even looking at the chat. Let me see if anybody's saying anything. Please feel free to type any questions into the live chat. And it doesn't matter, if I'm in the middle of talking, I'll finish what I'm saying. I'm going to look at the live chat. If anybody has any specific questions or a resource guarding instance that you would like to share about your dog, go ahead and type that in, and then we will, I'll cover that. But understand that in some cases, okay, I see that, Maria. Understand that in some cases, you're going to need a very specific plan. We need a protocol in place. So I don't feel comfortable saying this is what everybody needs to do with their resource guarding dog, because it can vary depending on your very specific situation. Your house is not the same as my house. My house is not the same as my neighbor's house. So we don't have the same people. So the environment has a lot to do with it. And I have to, when I'm working with clients with resource guarding, I dissect every single aspect of that dog's life. And I'm getting very detailed information. I'm writing notes. I figure out exactly what needs to be done for that dog specifically. So we can't really have a general, this is what you need to do. I can give you advice, I can tell you how to recognize it, but sometimes we need a very, very specific plan in place, because it can be a very dangerous behavior. If we're not understanding what the trigger is and we're not heeding the dog's warnings, their last resort is to bite us. So most of the time, your dog doesn't want to bite you, okay? And if your dog has bitten you, it doesn't mean your dog hates you. It means that we have crossed so many boundaries without recognizing them telling us that it's time for us to give them some space because they're very anxious. Their last resort is to bite us, okay? So sometimes, usually the first warning is going to be that your dog is diverting their eye contact. They're not making eye contact with you. They're trying to tell us, by doing that, they're trying to tell us that they're not comfortable. We are making them uncomfortable. They might hover over an item, if it's not a specific tangible item like a toy or a bone, or sometimes they'll resource guard something they've stolen from us, like your sock, your shoe, your hat, anything. So they could be hovering over an item to guard it and not making eye contact with you. Sometimes they're hovering over it and making direct eye contact with you, and you can recognize by their body language kind of how they're feeling if you are aware of how to read that. What else? So, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So yeah, they give us, the warning. So they'll do that. The growl is the step before a bite. So if your dog is growling at you, you're already pretty far into, you need to do something different, okay? So if it's not something that's super dangerous for them to have and they growl at you, we need to figure out how to navigate around that so that you don't get bitten, okay? We don't want to have a bite record. We don't want anyone to get hurt, but we also don't want to trigger our dog and now they have a bite record against them. Now you have to go to the hospital and report against your dog and stuff like that. It's not, that whole process is awful. It's not fun. So Maria, my colleague, and she is the moderator on this video right now, she said, what about the backup command? So the backup command is very important. So if we're going to be redirecting behaviors, like a backup command, I do like a shooing motion and teach them to back away from something. Let's say that I'm in the kitchen and I drop something that's toxic. Gizmo will eat anything, and I think it's because he was fending for himself on the street. Zelda's very picky. So if I drop an onion on the floor, Zelda's not going to eat it, but Gizmo might. And so a backup command, if I drop something on the floor that he shouldn't have or that I don't want him to have, and he starts advancing toward it, if I say back up, he knows to get away from it, to back away. I'm usually more prone to use a walk away command because I don't specifically need them to like back straight up. Back up is more of a command that I use in a tight doorway, a tight space. If I'm going into a room that I don't want the other dog in, let's say that I have the bunny out of the cage on the floor in my room hopping around, and I don't want the dogs in the same room. I don't chance allowing the dogs around the bird or the bunny when they're out of the cages, just because I don't want to deal with that. I don't need them to get along. I need them to coexist. As long as they don't mess with them while they're in their cages, I really don't care. They don't need to be friends. I don't need my bird on my dog's head or anything like that. Okay, so if I've got one of them out, let's say the bunny is out because his cage is being cleaned, and he's in a room with the door closed. If I open the door to the room and one of the dogs tries to come in, I'll use a backup command to get him to back away, or get Zelda to back away from the doorway so I can get in or out, or close the door if they've come through the crack of the door when I open it. Okay, so A backup command comes in handy for a lot of different things. It's really good for a tight space. And Maria, did that answer your? Is that what you were trying to say? I know we've got the 60-second delay in our chat, so it's going to take a second, a minute, for Maria to respond to me. But like I said, if anybody has any questions, please let me know before I move on to the next. Okay, so while I'm waiting for her to respond, I'll go ahead and talk about how to recognize. Okay, so most of the time, if you've been around dogs throughout your life, you have seen a dog that might growl at a child. Oh, 1 second. Maria just responded. Yes, I use the backup command for a lot of other things with Troy. Okay, so Maria is saying that she uses the backup command for a lot of things with one of her dogs, Troy. And it's, do you mean for resource guarding though, Maria? Like if you drop something? Oh, because he likes to steal things. Not necessarily resource guard, but he likes to steal items as a fun game. Okay, got it. All right, just wanted to make sure we were on the same page. All right. So if you've been around dogs throughout your life, you've probably encountered a situation with a dog where, a dog is on their bed or on a couch and growls at children when they come near, or growls at other people when they walk by them. And so that's resource guarding. They're resource guarding their space. When I was growing up, we didn't know it was called resource guarding. My mom or my family members would just be like, don't go near the dog when it's eating. Don't mess with the dog while it's asleep, things like that, because it is common knowledge. But sometimes people just don't know. And some people didn't grow up around dogs. I used to do here we have something called the Great American Teach-In, and I used to do my part of the Great American Teach-In. You're supposed to go and talk about your job. I would bring Nala, my pit bull that passed away actually 4 years ago this month. So I used to bring her to the elementary school that my daughter went to for the Great American Teach-In. I think we did it 2 years for sure, maybe 3. So I would bring her to the Great American Teach-In, and we had a 3-hour time block, and they would bring all of the kids throughout those 3 hours. I took it upon myself to make my time I did it as a bite prevention seminar for the children. And I was speaking to them about how to interact with dogs, what to do, what not to do to reduce the occurrence of bites. Because some of these kids didn't have dogs because their parents are afraid of dogs or didn't like dogs. So if they go over a friend's house or a family member's house that has a dog, I wanted to make sure that they understood how to interact with the dog, what to do, what not to do, what could make them nervous, how to pet them, so that we could reduce the occurrence of a bite. And my mindset was that if I could prevent 10 bites by educating these children on how to interact with dogs and what to do, what not to do, how to approach them, then I've done a good job. Okay, because a lot of people don't do that, and kids they don't naturally know not to bend down and put their face in a dog's face when the dog is laying down. If an adult never told them, then they have no idea. So I would do stuff like that, and I would have Nala do tricks for them just to keep them engaged. I would have her do tricks to entertain them, and then at the end of each session, I would have her sit, and I would have all of the kids come one by one to pet her. She didn't care how anybody petted her. So if the kid didn't pet her in the correct way that I told them to pet a dog, it didn't matter for her because she loved children and just was in heaven with all of these kids surrounding her. She just absolutely adored it. So she was the perfect demonstration dog for something like that. Zelda, the dog I have now, she's got a little more energy and she can be a little more jumpy, so I probably wouldn't use her for something like that. But yeah, so we need to teach our children how to interact with dogs. We need to teach them not to go up to a dog that's laying down on their bed or the couch and hug around their neck, especially if it's not their dog and the dog doesn't know them like that. So I do actually do sessions, like training sessions with clients that have children. I encourage them to have their children present while I am training the dog so that I can speak directly to the children. Because sometimes children are more likely to listen to someone else than their parents when it comes to, what to do with the dogs, and then kids actually help their parents be accountable with certain things. They'll tell on their parents. The next time I come, they'll be like, my mom didn't practice this like you said last time. So, yeah, so with resource guarding, it's important for us to have at least some basic obedience commands under the dog's belt. All right, so like I said, a leave it, a drop it, a come when called, a crate command, a place command. There's certain commands that we can use and make sure they are super reliable with them to be able to interrupt their behavior and redirect before it escalates. What we don't want to do, let's just put it this way. I'm a dog trainer, I'm a professional. I know not to challenge a dog that is telling me to back away from them. Okay? So when Gizmo gets something, I'm not going and snatching it out of his mouth when he's resource guarding it, because that's insane. He's going to bite me. I don't want him to bite me. I don't want him to feel like he needs to bite me to make me listen to him. I walk away and then I interrupt his behavior by giving him the crate command. So he's got a box that he's intensely resource guarding, or whatever he grabbed, a toy. He likes to, specifically, I figured out that he likes to take the toys that are not his, the toys that were pre-existing in the house, and guard those against Zelda or anybody. He grabs it and takes it somewhere, and then he'll start growling and shaking. At first I thought he was just like really excited about it and playing with it, but no, he's like challenging, don't come near me, this is mine. So I don't use leave it, because if it's something that they're allowed to have, I don't use a leave it command for that item. I will use leave it on a box because he's not supposed to have a box. It's not his box. He's allowed to have something to chew on because he's still young and still a chewer. So I'll allow him to have a bone, or not a cooked bone, a sterilized raw bone, or his deer antler inside of his crate, but he's not allowed to chew on it outside of his crate. He doesn't resource guard the deer antler with me. I can go near his crate while he has it, he's fine, but he will resource guard against Zelda. So he's only allowed to have that in his crate, and it helps keep him busy. I know it's safe for him. He can't destroy the antler. So it's something that's safe for him to chew on and helps him get that out of his system. But outside of the crate, he's not allowed to have anything to chew on. If I give him a chew, like if I give him the sweet potato jerky or one of the edible bones that are, take a little bit longer for them to eat, he only gets that inside of his crate. I have Zelda trained to take hers upstairs, so she's not even chewing on hers in the same room. So I'll give it to him in his crate, close the crate, and then I give Zelda hers. I say, take this upstairs to Manny's room, and she takes it and runs upstairs and eats it there. She's so good. She's very well trained, thankfully. Doesn't mean she's not anxious. We have some issues sometimes with her anxiety, but she's very well trained. She understands what I need her to do, and that's important. So that's where those obedience commands come in. So with resource guarding, just to recap, it doesn't mean that your dog is, aggressive. It means that they are anxious and they are communicating with us. The only way that a dog knows how to communicate with us is the way dogs communicate with each other. Okay, so if they're not making eye contact, they're hovering over something, they're growling, it's very likely that they are resource guarding. So we have to take steps to make sure that we can safely navigate them away from that behavior and prevent it from happening again. All right. So I never, ever, ever recommend provoking a dangerous behavior. Resource guarding can get very dangerous because that means that they are, their last resort, like I said, is to bite. So if they feel the need to bite and they do, it's dangerous because we could get hurt. Somebody could get hurt. So we want to avoid that from even being a possibility. Okay, so if we take that into consideration, we don't ever want to provoke a behavior that is dangerous to correct it. We want to prevent it from happening and be prepared be able to recognize how this situation, how this scenario could go the next time, and be prepared to be able to redirect them with the appropriate commands. Does that make sense? There's a few people watching, and I just need, if anybody would like to chime in, please chime in. Maria, if you would like to add something, please do. I'm looking to see if anybody's saying anything in the chat. So as I stated before, there's very specific situations that needs a very specific protocol. So if you've got, all right, good. Sometimes I worry that the way I'm wording something might not make sense to someone that is not familiar with dog training and behavior modification. So, yeah, I want to give a second to see if anybody wants to add something. So with resource guarding, like I said, if you've got a very specific scenario going on, we need to have a designated protocol tailored for your dog. You've got a house with 4 kids in it, and we are having issues with the dog only resource guarding against one child, a specific item against one child. We need to figure out exactly why that dog is only doing it with that child. And we also need to make sure that we are paying very, very close attention and making sure that we are safe so that it doesn't happen with anybody else. If a dog is prevention of resource guarding. Okay, so with, sorry, I'm reading the chat. Maria just asked a question, so I'll go ahead and go over that in 1 second. So with, if we have a dog that is only having displaying that behavior toward one child or one person in the house, we need to figure out why it's happening. And we also need to be prepared and make sure that it doesn't happen with anyone else, and that we don't allow that behavior to advance toward that specific person that it's happening with. Kids are very unpredictable. They do weird stuff. They think some things are funny, and sometimes we're not really paying attention to how they are interacting with the dog and what the dog's behavior is around that child or that person. Honestly, when I was a child, we thought it was funny that the dog, this little 4-pound Chihuahua that I had, was growling at us when she'd be on my bed. If she got on my bed first, she'd be growling at me when I go to get on my bed, and I'd laugh because I'm like, "You're 4 pounds. What are you gonna do to me?" And she would bite us, but it wasn't like she broke the skin. She did like the a warning, but she was biting us. She didn't break the skin, so it wasn't like we didn't we didn't know what to do, number one, and we didn't feel like it was like a huge deal. It was like, oh, she's a Chihuahua, of course she bites. But no, that's not okay. And I would tell my mom, like, as she got older, I was like, it's not okay that she bites people, because what if she were my Dalmatian? I had Dalmatian. What if she were her size? What if she were a Rottweiler? What if she were a Lab, a Doberman, a large dog? Like that's not funny. It's not cute. We can't have a dog biting people that come into our house. And she would go after most teenagers that came into our house because we did weird stuff. We would, like, make fast movements toward her because she reacted, and that's not funny. It's not cool. I'm not saying that you should do that. What I'm saying is I recognize what our part was in it. She had a tendency to resource guard already, and we didn't make it better, we made it worse because we were provoking the behavior sometimes. And that's what I'm saying children do, because they don't know any better. They don't know that, like, this is terrorizing this dog. So we have to make sure that we're not allowing those types of behaviors. And I make it very clear in my household that, like, when my daughter has friends over, no. If my dog has a bone in her mouth, get away from her. She doesn't resource guard bones, but she might, because she's a dog and she doesn't know. Like, this kid only comes over sometimes, so it's not like she's super familiar with her. So to prevent that, I just make sure that we don't have any issues because they know the rules. If there's, when my daughter was younger and I had the other dog, she never showed any, like, signs to be, like, on guard about, but there was this very hyper child that came over, and my dog had a bone. She was laying on her bed minding her own business. She had played with the kids and everything, supervised. I would watch. I never chance trusting that kids won't do something that might provoke a dog. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody's safe in my house. So my dog had a bone and she was on her bed. I told the kid, leave my dog alone, don't go near her. She already played with you. Now she's taking a break. If she goes on her bed and she starts chewing on her bone, that means that she needs time to herself. Don't go near her. So in that case, I did have to remove the dog from the room because the kid wasn't really listening. They were young. So, but okay, Maria asked me a question, and she said, can you talk about prevention when you have a puppy? So prevention for resource guarding when you have a puppy would be offering trades. When they have something that they don't necessarily want to give up, I work on teaching a reliable drop it command. I work on teaching a reliable wait command. So these are things that we can do to prevent the dog from getting anxious. So if, let's say I have a puppy in my house, or I'm working with a client's puppy, and they have something in their mouth that they've stolen that they don't want to give up, and they've got their teeth kind of clenched down on it, I work on teaching them a reliable drop it command with something that is appropriate for them to have. So I work on drop it with a toy so that we can then translate that into when they've got anything in their mouth, this means, and the verbal drop it means let go of it, spit that out. So leave it means don't touch that. Drop it means get that out of your mouth. Okay, so I like to teach a drop it command where they're dropping something on the floor or on the ground, and then I use give as place it in my hand. And I learned to do a separate command for give me something in my hand and drop that on the ground, because sometimes they have things in their mouth that we don't want in our hand. Dogs will pick up cat poo outside. They'll pick up carcass outside. I don't want you to think that I want that in my hand. If I say drop it, that means put it on the ground. If I say give, that means I need you to place it in my hand. So generally speaking, we're only going to do a drop it command where they're just letting go of it. But give comes in handy with somebody that doesn't have the ability to get down on the floor to pick a toy up. If they want to play fetch with the dog, they teach the dog to put it in their hand. And Maria actually, we're probably going to have a discussion about that. We're going to do some videos with teaching a dog commands that are good for someone with limited mobility. Because you do need them to bring things to you. You might need them to bring their leash and put it in your hand. You might need them to bring their toy, or pick up their bowl and bring it to you so that it can be filled. But we'll talk about that at a later time. So prevention with a puppy, with resource guarding, I like to work on when the dog is eating, when the puppy is eating. I show them that my presence near them while they are eating means that they gain something. They never lose anything, okay? So if I feel like a dog might have a tendency to resource guard when they're a puppy, I will start not aggressively, but diligently working on prevention. So with the previous dog that I had, she would scarf her food down, and to me that was kind of on the verge of her being anxious because she wanted to make sure that she didn't lose her food. I'm going to eat all this right away because I might not have it. So that was because of the situation she came from. She was sharing from a bowl, with all of the other litter mates and the parents. So what I would do with her is, as she was eating, I would walk over to her bowl and toss a treat in the bowl and walk away. So I didn't take it away from her. She didn't lose anything. She only gained something. And so it was always a higher value than what she was eating. So whether it was a piece of a hot dog or a piece of turkey bacon, a tiny piece of sandwich meat or something like that, a treat, freeze-dried beef liver, I would just go and toss that toward her or in her bowl as she was eating and walk away, so that she started to look forward to me coming near her bowl. And then she started to hesitate. She would see me approach when she was eating, and she'd back away, hey, are you gonna add something better in here? So she associated my presence near her bowl with something pleasant. I did the same thing with her with bones, just because if it's bone that they're chewing, getting something off of, it's kind of like food. So I'd walk near her and toss a treat toward her and then walk away. And so then she didn't ever feel anxious about me being near her when she was eating or when she had a bone, because she only gained from my presence while she was eating. She never lost anything. Does that make sense? Please feel free to type any questions in the live chat so we can talk about them, any topic ideas. But I want to try to keep it on the resource guarding topic for now. We'll do another one probably later on this week, and I haven't picked the topic yet, but I will work on what topic we're going to go with. So for right now, these videos are free to watch and interact with us. But I do want to have some very specific discussions for purchase on Zoom group classes, and that would be you're on video with us. Okay, let's see. Yes. Okay, so Maria said yes, fair trade and perfect, giving a higher value treat. Yes. So for those of you that don't know, Maria is my colleague, and she's the moderator right now for this live. We're trying to figure out how to get a split screen so that we can both be in the live together having a discussion about this. So we're trying to do it through the chat. She's a dog trainer. She's been training much longer than me. She's retired, but I'm trying to pull her out of retirement. Give her something to do and help me help other people. So we're both very passionate about training dogs. It's a job, but it's our life. Animals are our life, and we thoroughly enjoy what we're doing. Obviously, we have to make a living, but we thoroughly enjoy what we do for a living because we get to help the dogs that are attached to the people that we help. I like helping people and dogs, but my passion is definitely with the dogs, and I'm always going to recommend what's best for your dog. Sometimes you say, like the mob, yeah, you never get out once you become a dog trainer. Maria. So, we just really love what we do, and our goal is always, we always have the best interest of your dog in mind. And sometimes people don't like what I tell them, and I'm sorry, but I'm not going to sugarcoat what needs to be done for your dog to be successful, for your dog to be safe, for you to be able to keep your dog. It hurts me to the core when people give up on their dog, and that now I'm trying to help find a home for them because they didn't, give the dog a chance, and they didn't work with them the way that we needed to work with them. So my goal is always to have your dog's best interest in mind and make sure that you understand what needs to be done for us to get to the point of being able to manage this dog's behavior properly. Sometimes it's just that, the dog is hyper, and okay, the dog needs exercise, the dog needs structure, but of course there's the times where there's some aggression present, and sometimes people don't want to commit to the time it takes to work with this specific behavior. And unfortunately, once your dog develops some sort of, high level resource guarding or reactivity, it's extremely hard for us to find your dog a home. Like, you can't just rehome a dog that has behavior issues, and it's extremely difficult for us to find a placement for them. And most of the time, they're not going to pass a behavior evaluation. If you take that dog to a shelter, they'll take it in, but if it doesn't pass the behavior evaluation, it gets euthanized. So that hurts my feelings because I see these dogs, I know what needs to be done. I know that they're not a lost cause, and I know that, things could have been done differently, and it hurts my feelings. So my goal and my mission is always to make sure that you know what needs to be done with your dog, that you know how to manage their behavior, you know how to keep them safe so that they don't end up in a position where they've nipped somebody and now they're quarantined. Oh, they nipped somebody again, now they have to be put to sleep. There's things that we can do for prevention. Would you like to add anything, Maria? So if you're here during this live video, you can see the chat where Maria is typing and communicating with me. If you're catching it after the live is over, I don't think you'll be able to see the live chat conversation. I need to figure out, I'm still learning how to use this, but I need to figure out how to enable the live chat to be on the screen while you're watching the replay of this video. It's just it's a learning process for me, and if anybody knows how to do that, please email me and let me know, because I could use a bit of help. I'm old. I don't know how to do stuff like that. I'm much older than I look, and I'm not a techie. So Maria, is there anything that you would like to add to that? I'm looking at the chat. Give me one moment. All right. So if anybody has any questions, please type them in the live chat. Let me read what Maria just said. Maria said, preach. We must do the prevention and have the commitment of the owners. We always make training fun and interesting, and it really doesn't take a lot of effort when you use positive reinforcement. And that's true. So, when we're working with dogs, we're never punishing your dog. It doesn't matter if the dog has bad behavior. We don't we don't use punishment techniques. So with resource guarding, as you heard me say, for prevention and redirection, it's all positive reinforcement. I'm not scolding the dog because that can increase anxiety. That can increase the occurrence of the resource guarding. We have to be as calm and direct as possible with our communication. With Gizmo, I say crate. And if he doesn't do it the first time, I might snap my fingers to get his attention, or I'll clap my hand and I say firmly, I'm not yelling, but I'll firmly say crate. And if he doesn't do it one time, it was like maybe the first time it happened, he didn't respond the first 2 times I said it. So I went over to his crate and pointed to it, and then he ran in. So, I don't want to intimidate your dog. I don't want to intimidate my dog. I want to make sure that we have clear, direct communication, and we're utilizing positive reinforcement techniques so that we are not heightening their anxiety. We are not increasing the occurrence of this behavior. We are minimizing it. We are being very, very direct in what we want them to do, instead of challenging them. So if your dog is resource guarding something, they've got it under their body or they've got it in their mouth and they're growling at you, or they're not making eye contact with you, they're clenching their teeth, we don't want to challenge that behavior. And challenging that behavior would be us snatching it out of their mouth, or us getting in their face. You're going to get bitten one day, and it's not fun. It doesn't matter how big the dog is. Getting bitten by a dog is terrifying. And then our reaction to it usually isn't a good reaction. We're probably going to scream at them. We're probably going to, I have myself trained to remain calm. I've been bitten. I've been bitten a few times, and I remain calm. I do what needs to be done to reduce the stress level of the situation, move away from them, redirect them, because being aggressive toward a dog when they are in that mode does not help stop the behavior. You can make it worse. It makes them more likely to do it again if we respond in the wrong way. And so if you have been responding in the wrong way, we can still modify that. It might take more time for us to get somewhere, because we have to take into consideration how long a behavior has been occurring, what our reaction has been to it while we're working with them. So it's not, unfortunately, I don't have I'm not a fairy. I don't have a magic wand that I can just wave around and tap and your dog magically doesn't do something anymore. It takes work. It takes commitment. And if you are dedicated to make sure that, your dog is safe and happy, and that everyone in your house is safe and happy, then we can get somewhere. But if you put in minimum effort, you're going to get minimum results. Okay, so we want to put in maximum effort. It doesn't have to be exhausting. With the things that I work with Gizmo, or any dog that I bring into my house for board and train, I'm not drilling things in their head. It's got to be fun. Working a dog is play. It's structured play. We make them feel like they're doing something because they want to, and then they get something that they want. So I've had people say, "Oh, I don't want my dog to think that, they're working for food." Why? You work for money. They don't care about money. They care about food, because they are an animal. Okay? Animals like food. So why wouldn't we give them something that they want as a trade for what we want them to do? I hope that makes sense. So positive reinforcement doesn't mean that we are, we're not rewarding them for bad behavior. If a dog is growling at me, I'm not giving them a treat, because then that's reinforcing that behavior. I ignore that behavior. I redirect that behavior, tell them to do something else. And then when they're not displaying the bad behavior, then I reward them for something else. So redirection would be, it's interrupt and redirect. Okay, so if your dog is, let's say your dog is barking We don't want them to bark because they're being loud while we're on the phone, or they're excessively barking at someone out the window. We're not just telling them not to bark, we're telling them what to do instead. Hey, we need to teach them that when you see someone out the window, I need you to be quiet and I need you to walk away from the window. So we have to tell them what to do instead. We have to give them specific direction because they can't read our mind. If we don't tell them what we'd prefer for them to do in certain situations, they don't know because they can't read our minds. So we can't get frustrated that they're not doing what we expect them to do when we haven't shown them. And of course, me saying that we haven't told them or shown them means we haven't trained them to do it. Okay? Because we can have a conversation with our dogs all day long. And if we haven't taught them anything that we're saying, they have no idea. If I look at Zelda and tell her, I need you to go get your leash and go get my keys and go to the car, blah, blah, blah. Like, she doesn't know what I'm saying. She can pick out certain words, but she has no idea what I'm saying. Or, hey, why did you blah, 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 blah. She doesn't know what I'm saying. So my point is that we have to make sure that we're not allowing ourselves to get frustrated with these dogs when they're not doing what we have not taught them to do. I hope that makes sense. We have to be very specific and very direct with communication with dogs. They don't naturally speak human. They try to understand us. If you've observed enough dogs, you will see the level of communication that they try to have with us. And like, they whine at us and look at the door when they want to go outside, or they go to the door and hit the door, or they go to the door and bark when they want to go outside. This is all communication. That's how they speak. Okay, good. Maria said yes, it makes sense. So that's how they speak to us. We have to meet them in the middle. We don't naturally speak dog. Dogs don't naturally speak human. So we have to meet in the middle. We have to learn how to read their body language, and we need to teach them how to communicate with us. Okay? All right. Maria, I kind of forgot what the other thing was that I said I wanted to discuss. Can you look at your text message and see what I said, because I didn't write it down? Just gonna get a drink of water. All right. Maria, can you look and see what the other thing was that I said I wanted to talk about? Okay, I don't think I can pull it up on my phone without exiting out of the live. I texted it to you. It's okay. So I know specifically I wanted to make this discussion about resource guarding. And that's what we did. We don't have anybody chiming in on the live chat. Oh, okay, Maria. Sorry, I see that. All right, that's fine. So we don't have anyone chiming in on the live chat. So that's all I wanted to go over tonight. I know it's been about an hour. And if you're catching this live, hello. Sorry, it's a little drawn out, but I like to be very thorough. And sometimes I get carried away when I'm talking. I'm very passionate about what I do. And I just want everybody to know that I always have your dog's best interests at heart when I am working with them. And there's been an increase in rehomes of dogs and stuff like that, so it's stressful. It's definitely stressful, and I love what I do. I don't want people to stop communicating with me when they can't keep their dog, don't want to keep their dog anymore, because I do want to help them be safe, but I would really prefer that people put in the work and just dedicate that time that's needed. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. With dogs that I'm working with in my house, I add structure to what's already happening during the day. I'm only doing a training session for maybe, like with my own dogs, I only do training sessions for like 15, 20 minutes at a time. But then throughout the day with regular things like, okay, I'm about to take them outside. Well, put the leash on. I do the gentle leader, so I tell them to give me their nose. Then they put their nose in, I clip it, I have them sit, I have them wait until I'm ready. I have my shoes on, I get to the door, I make them sit and wait until I open the door and I step out. Then I give them permission to come out. This is all training, but this is it in real time, in real life. We just implement the commands that we're working on in everyday things. We don't have to set aside an hour or 2 hours to train these dogs. Keep treats on you. If you're new to training your dog and your dog needs some help with certain behaviors, wear a treat bag on you. Make them work throughout the day. We're not just making them work for 30 minutes out of the day and then the rest is a free-for-all. No, I always want them to know what needs to be done, and I want them to know that they will be rewarded for doing the right thing, doing what I need them to do. So making them sit to, go outside. When we're outside, it's not a free-for-all on the leash. I understand that sometimes they're in a rush to go potty, so I'll let them go potty first, but not in a crazy manner. Like, we're not busting out of the door. I make them slow their behavior down, slow down their roll while we're going out of the door. I let them potty, and then if I'm doing a walk, it's always a structured walk. I don't give them the 6-foot leash to get on the end of it and sniff around and pull me and wrap me up in the leash and stuff like that, because I need them to behave differently on the leash. I need them to walk nicely. I don't need them catching me off guard if they see something and they're 6 feet away from me. I definitely don't recommend retractable leashes because we have zero control over the dog. I understand they have a lock and you can zip it back in, but you can also amputate your finger with those. You can slice your leg open. I've seen injuries from those retractable leashes zipping back in after a dog has wrapped it around your leg or it's wrapped around the dog's leg. Sometimes the lock breaks. People's dogs have been run over while they have a retractable leash in their hand because the dog is out in the street and they can't reel them back in. So anyway, I won't go on a tangent with that. But so we just add structure to our everyday interaction with our dogs throughout the house, and that's also training. Training is never done. It doesn't matter if you have worked with your dog through puppy obedience, beginner obedience, intermediate, advanced, trick training, agility, whatever. You're never done training your dog. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you're never done. And that's what I've always told all of my clients, is that you are literally never done training your dog. If you see a highly trained service dog, okay, like the guide dogs, they have to go back for refreshers. Did you know that? They have to go back and have refresher courses because over time we need to refresh them. I like to do refreshers throughout their life. So if I realize that I haven't used a certain command or haven't reinforced a certain command, it's been a while and my dog is getting rusty on it, well, now I'm implementing that every single day until we get back on track. Zelda's 4. I'm still working on things with her. I just cycle through her commands and I'm like, okay, I need to work on down with distance this week. So you're just literally never done. With Nala, the previous dog that I had, she lived to be 10.5 years old, and I was literally never done training her because certain things would come up and it's like, okay, this needs work, we're going to work on this, we're going to go to a park and practice this with a long leash. You're just literally never done. We have to keep them engaged. We have to keep them refreshed on their behaviors and commands so that they know what we expect of them, because over time, if we're not reinforcing certain things, they lose it. Use it or lose it. Yeah, they lose it. And we can't get frustrated because they're not doing something that we haven't been practicing and implementing on a daily basis. So we just need to work on it. We've refreshed them. If your dog needs a refresher, let me know. If you've had training and now certain things are coming back that you need to work on, we can do a Zoom session and we can work on dissecting what needs to happen to get back where you want to be. If you're working with a brand new puppy, message me on, actually just email me. It's JasmineTheDogTrainer@gmail.com. I'm going to create a different email so that you can email Maria for scheduling, because I'm getting pretty busy, and we're going to have a system set up so that she can schedule, and you schedule and book through her. So JasmineTheDogTrainer@gmail.com. You can fill out the contact form on my website, which is JasmineTheDogTrainer.com. You can find me on TikTok. Please don't try not to message me on social media, because it's hard to navigate all these different avenues. But you can feel free to follow me on TikTok. Would be Jasmine the Dog. Everything is Jasmine the Dog Trainer. I'm not going to keep saying that over and over again. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and of course YouTube. So yeah. And if no one has any questions or nothing to input, I believe we are done, because we are over an hour right now. It's going to take forever for this to upload. But I did want to have this discussion tonight. Hopefully it helps someone. So basically I just wanted to teach people how to identify, and just a little bit of information on how to navigate resource guarding. And as I said before, I'm going to do an in-depth group class for Zoom with resource guarding, and we'll get more into the technical terms and how to mold and modify certain behaviors. But if you need specific instruction, please feel free to contact me so that we can come up with a very specific plan for your dog. All right? Okay, so I'll see you guys later, and like I said, let me know if you need anything. Bye. I don't know how to end it. Oh, here it is.